With the highest youth unemployment rate in the world, South Africa is facing a vast challenge that needs to be addressed urgently. My name is Jolly Mokorosi. Diving straight in, my guest is Taynita Harilal, a young South African entrepreneur and academic achiever. So welcome, Taynita. It's such a pleasure to have you as a guest today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm so excited.
What do you think it was about your background that allowed you to allowed an environment that fostered these entrepreneurial initiatives?
So firstly, I think that when it comes to my personal experience, I'm really fortunate because, like you said, I come from an entrepreneurial home. So my mom has her own business and I've watched her work since we were 7. So her office was in our house. And so the concept of owning your own business didn't feel foreign to me. It felt actually the most natural. And the older I grew, the more I realized the spaces that she integrated us into were entrepreneurial spaces. So I was allowed into rooms with women like you, with young South Africans and also international businessmen and women who really pushed the boundaries of working within a box. So going to university, getting a degree, and then getting a job just really didn't sit well with me. And I think that genuinely a lot of that is attributed to the environment I grew up in, because I think that an entrepreneurial mindset and an entrepreneurial spirit can be learned. And if you're put into an environment where it's normalized and where you are told to express yourself and try different things and you're allowed to fail, because I think failure is okay. It's the best way that we learn. It allowed me to try these things while I was at home. I started Bunnies in the Burbs in 2015, so we're still in matric. And I did it all the way through. I'm still doing it now, all the way through my varsity honors and now doing my master's in entrepreneurship and new venture creation. But it was because I had that home base. I had that support system of women, especially strong African women who really backed me, who really shared information with me so freely, which I think is I'm really, really lucky, because not a lot of young people can be allowed into these spaces, and I really am passionate about changing that.
That's amazing. So I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball. I see that you studied. You have a master's, or you're studying towards your master's, and you haven't held back basically academically in any way, which is also fascinating for entrepreneurs, because there's a tendency for entrepreneurs not to believe that they need to study entrepreneurship or to even delve into it from an academic perspective. How has that changed your perception on entrepreneurship?
It's my favorite thing that I've done so far. So I did my undergrad in international relations, African literature, and media studies, and then I did development studies and international relations as my honors, and then I decided to do my master's at Wits Business School because I wanted to be able to bring in this humanity side that I'm so passionate about, that I love so dearly, and merge it with business. And studying entrepreneurship is not always a common choice, right? Like you said, it's not always something that people think about intentionally studying, because it's on the job. You learn it as you go. It's a feeling. It's networking. And a part of me thought that, and I got into this course, and while it is purely academic, it is really, really focused on theory. It opened up how important it is to back yourself with knowledge, because it taught me the importance of not maybe the books, but understanding the ethos of your business, understanding when to enter the market, how to enter the market, being backed with the knowledge of, if I enter into a room, I can hold my own. And yes, you can learn these things on the fly, but there's something so incredibly special about being in a concentrated group of people with lecturers who are so passionate about what they do. And I do think that that's a misconception that hopefully will change, because entrepreneurial teaching, entrepreneurial education is so important, especially if we're saying that that's going to be the answer to youth unemployment.
So you touched on a couple of things that I actually want you to delve into. Things like a safe place to practice, some of the tools that you learned, and going back to your parents. What did they do in your home environment to create that safe place to practice? What tools did they give you? And what can a parent watching this saying, heck, I want my daughter to come out like that?
I think both my parents created an environment where talking about money, talking about business was never taboo. So I would watch my mom work from the age of 7, and her business was in our home. So my brother and I would get picked up from school and we walked through her office into our house. And watching her work, watching her adapt and change, and still be a really good mom, still take us to our sports, still be as present as she could, but also I think they created a space where it was okay for my mom to work. It was okay that we had tutors. It was okay that maybe we had to do more sports at school because she needed the extra time to pick us up. That doesn't make anybody a bad parent. I think it normalizes the behavior of fighting for your dream and going for it. The best thing that a parent could do is model that behavior. So model what you want your child to do. So my mom was always really, really good about packing a bag. So she would pack a bag and come to the office even though it was in our house. She would set times of, this is when I'm in a meeting, this is where demarcated areas, but also she opened up these spaces to us. So she would, if we had career days at school or we had like tuck shop days, she would be like, okay, well, how much money are you going to put in? How much money are you going to pay for services? How much money are you going to pay for lights? And even if it was like 2 rand or 3 rand or 10 rand, when I was younger, I was like, that's not fair. All the other parents are like just giving their kids money and they're just doing everything. But the older I get, the more I'm just like, that is such a good practice to teach someone that, you know, it's not just about making money, it's about putting things away. It's about who are you employing? How did you make the popcorn? Where did the lights come from? How did you sell it? How much did you make on each bag? And small things like that. But the safe space that they created was really allowing me in. So from the ages of 7 to I'm now going to be 24 in a few months, I went to work with my mom. So whenever she did an event, when she had Sanderbank Joy Jazz or the Newtown Junction Mall, I would spend my weekends with them. I would do admin, I would be a runner, I would do literally anything in the business that needed to be done that somebody else couldn't do. I would do that. I was the lowest of the low in the business, but I've slowly worked my way up. I've slowly learned the ropes, and I think that that's a concept that we learn about family business and entrepreneurship.
So one of the things that you touched on, which I thought was so important and we don't touch on enough, is actually that your mom still lived her dreams and allowed you to journey with her as she was living her dreams. Do you want to speak about that for a little bit? Because that I think is one of the things that's missing with women. We go one extreme or we go the other extreme, and we don't often find that balance.
So I think the biggest thing would be, I will always quote this to my friends all the time. So my mom started at a corporate. She worked a 9-to-5 job when JV and I were born. JV's my younger brother. And she said that she wanted to be like the white moms in our neighborhood. So my brother and I were really lucky. We got to grow up in a neighborhood where
I could hear your mom say that.
Yeah, anybody who knows my mom knows exactly what she means. She doesn't mean it in an ugly way, but more in the sense of the reality is we live in South Africa and race is such a big issue, and certain people have got to live certain lives for a lot longer, right? So she would pick us up from school, or my dad would drop us off, or we would have this constant, I guess, watching it and then living it at the same time. And she said she wanted to be like the white moms at school that could pick us up and that could have lunch with us and that could be present in our lives. And she wanted to be a mom who was in our home, but she also wanted to be a businesswoman. So she started her own business, and she didn't compromise on what she was doing. She didn't compromise on the networks that she made. If anything, she grew her business out of a pure passion for her kids and also for what she did. So she still went to meetings, she still lived the life that she lived, but also I think something that my mom has reminded me is that it's a sad reality that big corporate, upper middle class moms and dads in my area that tend to be largely majority white, they pay for their time. So my brother and I got to have tutors, we got to have lift clubs, we were picked up, we had au pairs, we had nannies, so that they did the homework with us, and my mom got to take us out for lunch, or we got to have a walk in the park. So the time that she spent with us was very, very intentional.
What does wealth mean to you? When you think of wealth, what is wealth to you?
Right. When I knew I was coming on the show, this is actually something I thought about really deeply, because the easiest thing to say is that wealth is money, right? Like, it's making an X amount of money and being really happy and living a really good lifestyle. And while wealth is monetary, I also think wealth is the amount of jobs that you can create, the ecosystems that you can create, the supply chain that you create. That's wealth to me. If Bunnies in the Burbs can hire a production manager, a cameraman, the talent, the suppliers we buy our ingredients from, that's wealth. Because I think that if one person is just succeeding and their supply chain is doing really badly, that's not wealth. So I'm learning that wealth goes beyond the paycheck and rather the impact of the business that you have.
That's an incredible perspective. And very well thought out as well. So Tay, I just want to say thanks once again for being my guest on this show today. And I'm sure that everybody watching here today is going to just get those little nuggets that they're going to take back and kind of implement in their own lives. So I'm really appreciative of your time. Thanks for being my guest once again. And thank you everybody for watching. Thanks for joining us today. We hope to see you again next time.